All right, on we go. Call to order the meeting Monday, August 5th of the Sykesville Planning Commission. First order of business is the minutes of the July 1st meeting, which I assume everybody's had the chance to read and digest. Any comments or issues with that? In that case, I move that we approve those minutes. Do I have a seconder?
I'll second.
Brandon seconds it. All in favour? Aye. Good to go. All right, thanks. Clem, thanks for coming. County update.
How's it going?
Good.
Just a few quick updates. For water and sewer, the spring amendment was approved by MDE, and I think you guys had one property within there.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. The fall amendments were due August 1st. I don't think the town submitted, or any applicant in Sykesville submitted anything for that. We have the housing study, public outreach portion is over for now. And the consultant's wrapping up the draft report, hopefully to have that complete towards the end of the summer. And then we have two possible text amendments that were referred to our Planning and Zoning Commission. One is to address the state's new housing legislation, specifically for the county. That would, I guess what we're looking at is the allowance of nonprofit-owned properties to include mobile manufactured modular homes in any residential district or district in general that allows for single-family residential districts. And I know you guys will be probably dealing with that in your upcoming the zoning code rewrite. And then the second is for solar design site requirements. We currently don't allow solar in our ag district, but there's been a handful of properties that have gone before the Public Service Commission to request. So the commission is worried that if we don't have site design requirements in the code, that what will happen at that point. So that's something they're going to be looking at as well.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
Just to clarify in terms, it's not so much you, Claire, I think Kevin can probably fill us in on this. In terms of the state housing legislation, which is going to affect zoning, it's basically that the zoning has to allow for a certain amount of affordable housing. Yeah, so we have to alter our zoning density to allow for that, yeah?
Yeah, there's a few components, which, again, I'm not a thorough expert on it, and admittedly staff has been seeking guidance from the state on how some of this is going to be interpreted when it actually gets implemented, but there's some things about allowing modular and manufactured homes in any district that allows for single-family residential, and then there's also some components that could have an impact on the formerly state-owned property, so the Warfield area, in terms of density and things like that. Again, how much that'll actually impact us, we're still, and how it's going to be interpreted, we're still looking for some feedback. In fact, the mayor, as well as some staff members, were in Annapolis last week for a meeting just about this to try to get some feedback. So it's still in flux, but as Claire mentioned, and as you guys know, we're in the midst of a zoning code rewrite, which will obviously incorporate all relevant state laws and regulations. So it's still a fluid situation at the moment.
Cool. Thanks Kevin. Thanks, Claire. Moving on to our business agenda. Site plan review and approval of 7611 Main Street. At least in my bullet point, staff report comes first, so I don't know whether you want to do that, Kevin?
Yeah, I'll try to be quick. The applicant is presenting a site plan for 7611 Main Street, showing the redevelopment of the first floor interior space from a single use, used to be a pottery center, into a multi-use space with 2 retail business suites and an office space. The second floor is going to remain as existing storage space as well as a single residential unit, so all major modifications are going to just be taking place inside of the building. The reason that we are reviewing this evening is that all principal permitted uses in the business local zone where a building permit or zoning certificate is required also is subject to site plan review by Planning Commission. So in the staff report, I listed out the authority the Planning Commission has when reviewing a site plan. Is the same thing I put in every time we do this, so in the interest of time I'll jump over that in case anyone has any objections. So basic information, the property is owned by the Downtown Sykesville Connection, which is the town's nonprofit affiliate. It's zoned business local, which does allow for retail stores, professional offices, and residential apartments as principal permitted uses. So the two retail spaces are listed as being 1,045 and 1,072 square feet, which will be occupied, I understand, by future tenants that are being chosen from a pool of applicants. And then the professional office space is 647 square feet with a small garage component, which will be utilized by the DSC. The site plan shows the second floor with a 1,140 square foot apartment and 1,060 square feet of additional storage space. And just note that the second floor storage space also includes the proposed addition of a dormer structure, which will extend the usable space on the second floor, which will also need approval from the Sykesville Historic District Commission, which we anticipate later this month. And then I included in the staff report some visual guides of the first and second floor with the square footage broken down just for ease of reference for everyone there. So when looking at the site, the building footprint, the proposed uses are all going to happen in the first story, or the proposed changes are all happening in the first story of the building and aren't going to require any modification of the existing footprint of the building. So all the changes are going to be happening in the existing footprint that's already there. As is the case oftentimes with these site plan reviews, parking was the main consideration that we ended up having to look at. So the office space has a minimum parking requirement of 2 parking spaces, which they're showing as these parallel parking spaces here on the front facade of the building, which does appear to be the only practical location for some additional parking, given the limiting size and shape of the parcel. The plan doesn't indicate the size of the spaces on here, but the town standard for end-stall parking units is 7 feet by 20 feet. The site layout also shows that there's an existing handicap space here on the north side of the building, with this existing area labeled as adjacent. It's unclear, but just by looking at the plan, if this adjacent space is an additional standalone parking spot or simply associated with the handicap spot. And again, the dimensions aren't listed here on the plan, but the town standard for perpendicular parking is 9 feet by 20 feet. I do want to point out though that dedicated handicap parking spots cannot be considered as part of the parking calculations when we're looking at the 2 required spaces for the office. So any handicap parking is on top of what's required there. The apartment space currently exists as shown on the plan with no proposed alterations. There's no dedicated parking on site for this unit, but the tenants of this space have historically utilized the available public parking in the downtown area. There hasn't been any issues or concerns with that. Staff doesn't see any reason to force them to change that because they aren't proposing any changes to that space. That's how it worked before when they bought the space. And it seems to be working fine, so staff doesn't have an issue with that continuing as it's been. And then there's no parking requirement for the retail space since each suite is under 2,000 square feet. Mm-hmm. So with all that being said, the site plan is being presented for Planning Commission review and approval. And considering all the limitations of the parcel, staff does feel that the plan and proposed site layout is acceptable and does recommend approval. And then I included a suggested motion if the Planning Commission agrees with that assessment. And again, I have up the site layout here, and then we also included the interior layout as well. So hopefully everyone got a chance to look at those. But if there's any questions, concerns,
Comments? Anything? No. No. I mean, it's been operating as a business for years. There's been a residence in there for years. It's never been an issue with it, so I don't really see that there's any problem as far as I see it.
No.
No. Nothing else to say? Mm-hmm. Okay, in which case then I move that we approve the proposed site plan for the redevelopment of 7611 Main Street. Do I have a seconder for that? Seconded by Ken. All in favour?
Aye.
All 4 of us. So you're good to go and good luck with it.
That was so fast.
Yeah,
No, it doesn't take long.
We try to make them quick when we can.
No,
Right.
thank you.
You're
I
welcome.
was very excited.
Everybody does all their work in the front.
Yeah.
So you already have people lined up to get in there?
Oh, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. That is awesome. Yeah.
I'm very excited to redevelop it with something that stands with our mission and our strategic plan. So
Awesome.
there will be reviews coming up, and we were awarded a large state grant with Restore very recently. So I can promise you the inside will be beautiful. I already know what color will be my office.
Nice.
Excellent.
Great.
Well, good luck with that.
Yes.
Sounds
Thank
like a
you
good
so
plan.
much.
Just wish you well.
All good.
All right, moving on swiftly. Town updates. Kevin.
Yeah, just a few quick things. So last month, obviously, we talked about some of the outstanding projects. I did hear from the folks at the garage up the street, the Joy property. So he indicated at the end of last week that they are doing their final reviews of their site plan and are hoping to submit something, at least to me, this week. So we'll see if we actually get that, and I can distribute that early as well, if we get that, early, just so folks can start taking a look at that in advance. So we'll see if that actually comes this week, but they said it might. The Enclave folks, so they resubmitted their updated stormwater management plans for review at the county level. I'm still not sure how that's going to work, because every communication I've received so far is saying that what they're going to be allowed to do up there is still contingent on what ends up happening at Parkside. So I'm not sure what they're looking for at this point with Enclave. How far that the stormwater management folks at the county are willing to go with approvals there. So it's still a little bit confusing there, but they did submit an updated stormwater management plan for county review. So that's still, at least they're still working on it.
Okay.
I did have somebody reach out who said that they were interested in the open seat in Planning Commission. I sent them the requirements, what they need to do. I haven't heard back from them, but if we do have an open seat, so if anyone knows of anyone who might be good for that, have them reach out to myself, and maybe we can fill that seat and get all these seats full. And then I mentioned a little bit earlier, I was going to say that staff has been seeking guidance on the this new state housing legislation. So that's still a work in progress, and we're trying to figure out how what that's going to look like in practice moving forward. And then again, I mentioned it I think before we started, but our next meeting is a Tuesday, the day after Labor Day. So if anyone plans on traveling and potentially not being here, I would appreciate a heads up, just as early in advance as you guys know. But I know plans change and stuff last minute, so it's all good. But just wanted to make sure everyone is aware that next meeting is a Tuesday, not a Monday. So that's all I got.
All right, good. Any other issues, questions, comments? Nothing? That being said, I move that we adjourn. Do I have a seconder?
Second.
Brandon, all in favour?
Aye.
Well, that's pretty good.
Good stuff.
Taking longer to disconnect.
Go ahead.